Welcome to the Aaron Harber Show, Colorado Business News. Today we are continuing our series of discussions with members of the Colorado General Assembly. Joining me today from the State Senate is veteran of this program, Raleigh Heath. Raleigh, great to see you.
Great to be here, Aaron. Thanks for having me.
All right, and in full disclosure, Raleigh and I have been teammates on softball teams as well. So,
with our daughter.
Yes, and don't remind Kristen about the line drive I hit that hit her in the eye. That's another. She never lets me forget that, by the way. And from the other chamber in the State House, Polly Lawrence. Polly, thank you for being here.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for the invitation.
And you look so good, given that we were partying last night. So
yeah, it's been less than 12 hours. We've both recovered well.
And you look lovely at the governor's mansion, I should say.
Thank you.
I'm glad you didn't see me eating all the hors d'oeuvres. But Raleigh's used to that. Well, let's talk about the 2016 session. Raleigh, I'm going to start with you. What are you looking forward to? What do you expect? What are you not looking forward to?
Well, I think the budget's going to be the big issue. We have the anomaly of Tabor and refunds at a time where we really need the money. I know we're going to get into transportation, which needs desperate funding. So we're going to be refunding money at a time where we need funding for education and transportation and many other things as well.
All right, and this is refunding money we've already collected.
Yes.
So it's not raising taxes.
These are Tabor refunds.
Okay, and Polly, what's your take on that, and what other issues do you think are really going to be important?
Well, from what I understand, the budget is going to be very tight, and to me that just means we need to set our priorities. We need to look at the budget very carefully and examine what we absolutely need to provide and what we don't need to provide, and maybe there will be cuts in different areas. I'm not sure what the budget's going to look like this year, but it is certainly going to be a topic. To Raleigh's point about transportation and infrastructure, that is something that Colorado needs to pay closer attention to, and something that we need to really start thinking about investing dollars in.
You know, under Tabor, taxes can be raised, but only by a vote of the people. And so I'm curious, it seems like there have been so many studies done in regard to transportation that make it clear we have literally billions of dollars of deferred maintenance on our roads, on our highways. Why not make the case to voters that it's worth the investment? We haven't raised the gasoline tax in years. Everyone seems to be so afraid to go to voters and make that case to ask for more money. Is that not a good solution, or is there a way to do that, or is that just politically unpalatable?
Well, Aaron, remember F, C, and D? C passed by less than 1% of the vote. D was the funding for transportation. It failed.
But also by a close vote.
Also by a very, very
And you had a very bipartisan effort supporting both of those measures.
And Aaron, when we poll, this poll's very, very low. People don't seem to want to fund it. Why? I don't know. I mean, the crazy part about this is, I think the big conversation going on today, and whether it's at the federal level, state level, local level, is what's the role of government. The irony is everybody agrees the role of government is infrastructure. I mean, there's no disagreement on that. And yet when you go to the voters and you ask them to fund even rural roads, people don't tend to support it. And that's something that I just don't understand, because we really have agreement that this is a fundamental role of government, but we don't seem to want to fund it.
So, Polly, one of the things we're seeing is more of these toll roads where roads and maintenance are being funded. Of course, you have the new one from the Denver-Boulder Turnpike. I guess no one calls it that. Actually, it's now. I guess it is becoming. It's kind of returning to Turnpike. I think that toll went off on the Turnpike. Does anyone remember what year the toll went off?
Well, we moved here in 1970 and was off by then.
Yeah, it was 1969. So that's actually when I arrived in Colorado, believe it or not, just as a very young pup. So it's now you can drive and get tolled, as it were. Does it make sense to keep moving in that direction? You have, of course, E470, the Northwest Parkway, I-25 express lane going north, where people are now paying, and now paying often to a a private party. Is that the wave of the future? What's your solution, Polly, for our transportation issues?
Oh boy, that's a big question. If you look at what was offered last year, the bond payments for the T-Rex project are going to sunset, I believe, in 2017. So there was a proposal to just roll those over into new bonding for projects all around the state. Unfortunately, CDOT didn't support that. They felt they needed that money for maintenance, which we do have a maintenance problem across the state. But because we have limited dollars coming from the federal government and coming from the gas tax, which is a declining revenue stream, we need to be much more creative about how we use those dollars, and public-private partnerships are one way to do that. And, to your point about tolling on 36, they're only tolling one lane in each direction because that's the only new lane on that road. So the public still has an option. They can drive in the free lanes, or they can spend, I'm not sure what it is, $8, maybe $10 to drive in that tolled lane if they want to get to their destination a little bit faster. But we need to be more creative on our solutions with limited dollars and a changing economy.
Do you think that's going to be enough? Do you think we have the resources to meet our road and highway needs by simply being strategic, being frugal, doing these third-party partnerships, or do we really need more revenue?
Well, I think it's a step in the right direction, and I think the federal government needs to figure out what they're going to do. They have had piecemeal plans for the last probably 5 to 10 years for infrastructure funding, and they keep just rolling it into 1 and 2 year cycles. Well, you can't plan projects because sometimes the environmental impact statement takes over 2 years to complete on a project. And a lot of these projects are multi-years, so having just a 2-year cycle on that funding really makes it difficult to plan long range for transportation and infrastructure.
Raleigh, what do you think we need to do?
Well, Aaron, we don't have enough money. I mean, that's clear. I chaired the Senate Transportation Committee for 1 year, so I had little exposure during that time. I mean, pick a number, but I think CDOT will say we've got $2 billion worth of just maintenance out there. Forget building anything new, and we don't have the money to do it. I mean, we're piecemealing it every year. And the irony is, the mayors and the county commissioners across the state came together. They thought they could go to the people and ask. I think Club 20 has just come out and said they want to increase taxes, the gasoline tax. I'd be all for it, because we've got to figure something out, but we don't have enough money, particularly with the numbers of people now that we have in the state, the amount of cars on the roads. I mean, I drive a hybrid. I get twice as much miles per gallon as I did in my last car. Am I doing less damage to the roads? Obviously not. So, I mean, there alone, I think the common sense would say we need more money to do this.
All right. Well, for some reason, I don't see a gas tax proposal on the ballot for 2016.
Unfortunately, the people of Colorado just don't have an appetite for that. They look at the price of gasoline and they think they're paying plenty. So, if that's the voice of the people, then we need to figure out how we're going to fund this.
All right. Well, we're going to take a break. We'll be right back with Polly and Raleigh.
For information on how to help promote civil and mutually respectful discourse and support expansion of the distribution of our programs, please email info@harbortv.com.
Hi, I'm Aaron Harber, host of The Aaron Harber Show. For information about the program, who our upcoming guests and topics are, and ways you can participate, please go to our website. That's harbortv.com. And most of all, thanks for watching.
I'm Mary Robinson, former President of Ireland.
Hi, I'm Jim Cameron, Director of Avatar.
I'm Christina Johnson, former Undersecretary of Energy.
Hi, I'm Oliver Stone.
Hi, I'm Mike Peters. I'm the creator of Mother Goose and Grimm.
Watch The Aaron Harber Show.
I would encourage you to watch The Aaron Harber Show. It's good fun.
Watch The Aaron Harber Show, because he's a really cool guy.
Please watch The Aaron Harber Show, on which I do appear.
I want you to watch The Aaron Harber Show. Grimmy watches it every day.
I'm Aaron Harber, host of The Aaron Harber Show. You can follow the show on Twitter and find us on Facebook to get all the latest updates, see behind-the-scenes photos, and make comments and ask me questions. You can see episodes before their TV broadcast, so like the show today.
Your opinions, ideas, suggestions, and criticisms related to guests, topics, questions, or the host are welcome. Please send an email to producer@harbortv.com.
Welcome back to the show. We're with Raleigh Heath and Polly Lawrence. Okay, we talked a little bit about transportation. Let's talk about K through 12 education. A huge portion of the state budget, billions of dollars, are dedicated every year to K through 12 schools. Yet when you look at any of the analyses, Polly, the schools clearly are not succeeding in terms of educating our kids at the level that we want. What's the challenge? What can we do? And what are the funding issues? You have 30 seconds.
Thank you. Well, I wouldn't say that it's all based on the dollars that go to the different schools. I mean, a lot of it is allowing the local districts to set their policies so that they are educating the kids in each of these districts. All kids are a little bit different. And if we would allow parents to have more of an opportunity to select the school that fits their child, I think we'd see an increase in test scores and improvements across the board around the state.
So how could we achieve that?
You know, if we had opportunity scholarships, if we had a more robust voucher program, or, you know, a tax credit system for parents so that they could choose a school that best fits their child, they know what their kids need much better than a legislature does. You know, when we try to pass things to improve the education system, we're coming at it from a 30,000-foot level. Parents are right there. The local schools are right there. So the closer we can get those decisions to those families, I think the better the results are going to be.
Raleigh, what, and you certainly have also the perspective of someone who's been in very high executive positions in business, concerned about the quality of applicants and job applicants and how well educated kids are and young people are coming into the workforce. What's your take on what we need to do to really improve the system?
Well, thanks. Workforce has obviously been my passion, which you're alluding to. Public education is the foundation of a democracy, and I guess Polly and I would probably disagree. I think we have local control. Every school district, we the legislature don't make those rules. We pass the money down, and local control does it. What we did this last session, I think, is going to go a long way, because the high dropout rate is I think, of huge concern to all of us. In my mind, rather than create an either a four-year college degree or a good technical job, we've created an all or nothing. We've basically talked about a four-year college degree or forget it. So what we did as a legislature last year, we passed 8 bills, all bipartisan, which basically put in apprenticeships, internships. I spent a lot of time in Europe where they had it. With Johns Manville, we had an identical plant in Europe that had 40 apprentices, the same plant in the United States, none. And I think we're going to that. So I think what we're doing is integrating the work environment into our schools. I think that will allow kids to see that they have opportunities even if they're not going to go to a four-year college. But what we know is they've got to stay in school, they've got to graduate from high school. And then I think the best thing we did, and leading the whole country, is put in concurrent enrollment. So a student now can stay in high school for the 5th and 6th year at no cost to them, come out with their high school degree and their associate's degree in a skill, whether it's a plumber, an electrician, a machinist, like I own a machine shop, tool and die maker. I mean, I think we're making a lot of steps in the right direction. We've got to make kids understand that school is the way for their future. And I think we're doing that now by opening up a much greater horizon of what's possible for them.
What do we do about the reality, though, that we've got kids? If you look at some of the test scores, where I think it's third graders are only something like 37% of third graders are reading at grade level proficiency. We're graduating kids from high school who clearly have not hit those proficiency numbers. What do we do about those challenges? Because it seems to me that the numbers are so stark in terms of our failing our kids that we really need to step back and look at what we're doing, and fine-tuning is not the answer. That's just my intuitive sense. Polly?
You know, being able to read proficiently by 3rd grade is certainly an important benchmark for our kids. And I think the legislation that was passed, was it in 2010? Yeah, the READ Act was a step in the right direction. But we also have too much testing going on. And last year there were some bills to, streamline some of the testing so that the teachers are actually spending more time with these kids. But a lot of this comes down to, do we have volunteers in the classroom? I think there are a lot of parents out there who spend a lot of time with their kids, helping them with their reading. But this is an opportunity where grandparents could come into the classroom, community volunteers could come in to offer, just that little bit of assistance for those kids who are struggling with reading. Because to Raleigh's point, even for those folks who choose a technical degree, go on to be electricians or plumbers or carpenters, they need to have those skills to read plans, and we need to make sure that that initial benchmark is there.
Final word, Raleigh, on this.
Well, let's go back to the 3rd grade issue. And what we know is that if a child can't read by 3rd grade, up to then you learn to read, and then after 3rd grade you read to learn. And so preschool and full-day kindergarten is what's critical, and we just don't have that in so many of our schools. And to me, that's where the emphasis needs to be in terms of funding, is to fund preschool, to fund full-day kindergarten, so we can help those kids get ready to read by 3rd grade, because it's wonderful that I had parents that read to me every night, and you'd hope every child, but the truth of the matter is that doesn't happen in a lot of families today. So it falls back on the schools, and we need preschool and early childhood education.
Is there a way, you talked about parents, is there a way, one of the things I had talked about years ago was some type of incentive for parents or program, or just, and I don't mean necessarily a taxpayer-funded program, but just some type of organized effort to say to parents, and maybe to companies, to let parents do this, say, we want every parent to spend 1 day a month in one of their kids' schools, if you have more than one child. And if you look at the sheer number of person hours that would contribute to the system, of course you need to spend time organizing that, it strikes me as you could have an extraordinary impact on raising the resources without raising taxes dedicated to schools. And it would also get, I think, while there are a lot of parents, as you said, Polly, involved in their schools, there are also a lot of parents, I think, who are not involved in their schools, and who, I'm just going to be blunt, I think see schools as a glorified babysitting service. So how could we make it the norm in Colorado for parents to volunteer and help in schools? And I know we only have a minute left in the segment, but give me one idea or one thought. Polly, I'm going to toss it to you first.
I don't know how you make parents volunteer. Sometimes they can't do it because of their work schedules, because of other scheduling problems that they may have. And I was able to volunteer in my kids' classrooms, and I loved it, but not every parent can do that. My mom lives in over 50s community, and they have a grade school right down the street, and they have talked about volunteering in that school. Have they stepped up and done that? No, they donate books and they donate resources to that school, but I think donating time would be the most important thing that they could do.
Yeah,
and the overwhelming number of families are now working 2 jobs. Got mom and dad both working 2 jobs, and the chances of them getting off, I mean, I'd love to think that could happen, but the chances of them getting off, they're just barely making it right now.
Right, but my point is, can we get the business community involved and say, hey, one of the ways, this is a long-term investment for the business community's way. Give people, a day off a month is a lot, but whatever it is, sometime, so that during the year you can have this contribution without raising taxes and get more parents involved. Anyway, okay, it's a crazy idea, but what else do you expect from me? We'll be back in just a moment with Raleigh and Polly.
For information on how to help promote civil and mutually respectful discourse and support expansion of the distribution of our programs, please email info@harbertv.com.
Hi, I'm Aaron Harber, host of the Aaron Harber Show. For information about the program, who our upcoming guests and topics are, and ways you can participate, please go to our website. That's harbertv.com. And most of all, thanks for watching.
I'm Mary Robinson, former President of Ireland.
Hi, I'm Jim Cameron, Director of Avatar.
I'm Christina Johnson, former Undersecretary of Energy.
Hi, I'm Oliver Stone.
Hi, I'm Mike Peters. I'm the creator of Mother Goose and Grimm.
Watch the Aaron Harber Show.
I would encourage you to watch the Aaron Harber Show. It's good fun.
Watch the Aaron Harber Show because he's a really cool guy.
Please watch the Aaron Harber Show, on which I do appear.
I want you to watch the Aaron Harber Show. Grimmy watches it every day.
Welcome back to the show. This is part one of our special two-part series with Raleigh Heath and Polly Lawrence, and we may have a surprise guest in part two, but you have to watch part two to find out. We talked about K through 12 education. Let's talk about higher education. It really seems to be a disconnect between Coloradans and the role and benefits of higher ed. Raleigh, of course, in your district, the famed University of Colorado, talk about the requirements, the needs, and the value of higher ed and what you think the state should do about it, especially in view of the fact that the percentage of state funding of higher ed has just declined precipitously in this state from at one point, in the 50% range to now well under 10%.
Well, first, let's talk about let's define higher education. For me, it's post-secondary, because higher education is not just a four-year degree. 25% basically, you can just pick a number, basically you're going to get that four-year degree. So we're talking about the other 75%. And what I try to talk about is post-secondary, getting kids through high school and then having a chance to go on at some post-secondary level, and hopefully that includes getting an associate's degree as well as a four-year high school. Clearly, I would have been very disappointed if our kids didn't go and get the four-year college degree, but that's not what 75% of the kids necessarily want. So I think what we need to talk about is not just the four-year colleges, which I think we do very, very well, particularly our research, but the community college system, which I think is frankly key to workforce and all the other issues. And the whole issue is cost. I mean, when you talk about the University of Colorado, yes, I think the university is now getting about 5% of their funding from the state. And some people would say, well, why even have a public state university if it's only 5%, they might as well go private. Well, I don't think that's what we want. I think we want a strong higher education public system in the state. The question is, how do we make it reasonable? And that goes back to funding. In the first segment, we talked about transportation. Higher ed's got the same thing. We are funding higher education for all practical purposes last in the country on a per capita basis.
So
I don't think that's what we want.
All right, so is there a long-term solution you'd like to see enacted that would provide stable funding for higher ed? What would you like to see done?
Well, right now, higher ed is, when you look at our budget, is basically the only place we can go that we don't have to fund. There is nothing that says we have to fund it.
So when a cut is needed, higher ed is our whipping boy.
Higher ed, Amendment 23 protected K through 12 up to a point. There's nothing to protect higher ed. We talked about earlier on, we're going to have a budget issue. Higher ed is going to be right between the crosshairs.
All right, Polly, what's your take on higher ed? Something tells you might have a different perspective.
Well, I think, Raleigh is on point when it comes to the funding. Higher ed has been the low-hanging fruit, and when we've had budget issues, that's been the first place that has taken a cut. And to the workforce development, he and I are on the same page with that. There are a lot of kids out there who don't want to go to a four-year college, or they may not want to go to that four-year college right out of high school. So for us to have opportunities for them to attend technical schools where they can learn plumbing or be an electrician or a carpenter or an auto mechanic, those are all things that we all need on a daily basis. And I think the message that we have given kids for the last probably 15 to 20 years, that if you don't have a four-year college degree, you're not worth as much as that other person. I think that is a big mistake for the country and for Colorado, because again, those career paths for electricians, plumbers, carpenters, those are all people that we need on a daily basis, and we need to encourage people to pursue those careers too, if that's what they choose to do. A lot of people like to look back at the end of the day and be able to see a tangible result of their efforts for that day. So I'm very happy that the workforce development bills went through last year. I was on one of them that allows counties to create scholarships for students, adults with their GEDs, veterans, so that they can access money to get a post-secondary degree that fits their goals. And I think that's something that we need to recognize, that one size doesn't fit all, and we need to allow more opportunities.
In terms of opportunities, how serious is the situation in terms of the businesses in our state and the demand they have for employees with college degrees, whether it be a 2-year degree, an associate degree, or a 4-year degree? Because one of the great attributes of Colorado is we've always had a very high percentage of our adult population having some kind of degree, and that's actually due in part to the fact that people with degrees come into the state. So other states are educating them, and we're getting that benefit. So do we really have a serious need to do a lot better, or are we really doing okay?
Well, the big vacuum is in what we call middle skill jobs, which are the jobs that Holly was just talking about, and I've alluded to. I owned a machine shop, so machinists, tool and die makers, welders. These are the people we don't have. The last number I saw, there were over 5,000 jobs right now in this category, middle skill jobs that we can't fill. And you know, people are mobile, but they tend to be mobile with a 4-year college degree, someone like myself who came here and was educated in Wisconsin. But the middle skill jobs, hopefully you can grow those yourself, and these are the people that, I mean, these are good paying jobs, anywhere between 40 and 75,000 as a minimum, with benefits for these, quote, middle skill jobs that we were both talking about. That's where we need to put the emphasis, and those are the people we're not educating. These are the people we've got to convince of the opportunity so they stay in school and get those associate degrees.
How about in terms of technology, where, I mean, the traditional model, even at the community college level, and certainly in the 4-year level, where you have a professor in the classroom, and whether it's 10 students or 400 or 500 students in a class, is that going to be supplanted by what you can do online? And from a cost efficiency perspective, are Colorado colleges and universities moving quickly enough to adopt the use of technology to make their operations more efficient? Give me some feedback. What's your sense of that?
Well, I think a lot of the colleges and community colleges especially are moving towards online classes. Even some of the high schools are offering that now for kids that, for whatever reason, they're not fitting in at school. They do better online than they do in the classroom setting. I think we're offering a lot more opportunities and more avenues for education across the state. But just like anything else, we don't know how far it's going to go. I mean, the opportunities are so vast out there. We don't know where technology is going to take us. And you know, online classes may be the ideal solution for a lot of people.
All right, Raleigh, I'm going to give you the last word on this topic.
Well, you can hardly turn your radio on, I'll say in this case, Aaron, without somebody advertising their online school, whether it's CSU or somebody from out of state. So there's a lot of emphasis on it. I don't think it will ever take the place of sitting in a classroom with the number of students and the dialogue you get. But it certainly offers, and even secondary, our high schools, rural schools, are tapping into online when they can't offer those advanced classes in the high schools. So it's obviously the wave of the future. I don't think it will ever replace entirely.
Okay, I want to thank my guests, Raleigh Heath and Polly Lawrence, for joining me today. This is part 1 of our 2-part series with members of the General Assembly. Make sure you watch part 2. I'm Aaron Harber. Thanks for watching.
Bye.